and Norway failing to agree a fishing deal. So it seems like the issue is more on the UK side in terms of offering something. We don't know the specifics of the negotiations. The only things I've seen are from that guy, the son of a Viking, who's put up links and stuff like that. But that's about it. We haven't seen much coverage about the reasons why it fell through. But there is a video interview where a person talks about what happened and kind of the implications of it. So we'll watch that towards the end of the video. But for now, we'll talk about what's going on. So the that's my cat. The UK and Norway have failed to reach a fishing deal for this year, with the industry warning that hundreds of crew members will be left out of work. So the rule, what's going to happen now is every year the UK and Norway, and I think, well, it'll be separate, but the UK and Norway are going to have negotiations about fishing quotas and access to water. So this year it's fallen through. Hopefully next year they actually get somewhere, because yeah, this is not looking too good. So it means UK fleets will have no access to Norway's subarctic waters, known for their cod catches. Cod is a fish that a lot of people eat within the UK. In 2018, the UK fleets landed £32 million worth of fish in Norwegian waters, according to the government. With the UK no longer part of the European Common Fisheries Policy, it now deals directly with Norway, which is not an EU member state, on fishing matters. So what we can see is the EU consistently manages to get a deal with Norway. And given that we have a deal, I think it's with Norway, which means that they can catch this cod and they can export it to the UK tariff-free. So, Nords won again. The two countries agreed last year to a post-Brexit system of cooperation, including annual negotiations on quotas and access to each other's waters, but a deal for 2021 proved impossible despite weeks of talks. UK Fisheries Chief Executive Jane Sandell complained that the UK government had failed to even maintain the rights we have had to fish in Norwegian waters for decades. So the UK had a deal with Norway as part of the EU. We were part of the EU, if anyone's forgotten that what happened with Brexit and stuff. But the UK, as a part of the EU, had a deal with Norway, and as a single entity, we have failed to do that. It could be the case that we were asking for far too much, which is very likely knowing this government, but the simple fact remains we failed to negotiate with Norway, something the EU's managed to do for decades. So, sunlit uplands, we can do bespoke deals. I guess this is a bespoke deal, right? We're not going to get access to the fish we actually want to eat. It's a great deal, guys. Great deal. So she added, in consequence, there will be no British caught Arctic cod sold through chippies for our national dish. So what that means is that it's going to be all Norwegian caught, or maybe some of it will be from EU fishermen, depending on the quotas. Do I think that's a big deal? Not really, but it will cost more, because if you think about it, they would fish in Norwegian waters and they could come back to the UK to process it, which is far quicker and easier than sending the fish, catching the fish, sending a British boat into Norwegian waters, going to Norway, having the fish processed there, and having it shipped back to the UK is much quicker if they bring the fish from Norwegian waters back to the UK. But this is the way it is now. It will all be imported from the Norwegians, who will continue to sell their fish products to the UK tariff-free while we are excluded from these waters. Quite simply, this is a disgrace and a national embarrassment. The UK fishery said it had invested approximately £180 million in the last 20 years in Humberside fishing industry, which I believe is in Hull, and had planned to put another 100 million in. So you can see that a lot of money has been put into the fishing industry as an investment from fishermen and whoever else is involved with these investments, and a lot of that's been wasted now because the UK simply couldn't agree a deal with Norway. The company's giant vessel in Kirkilla, I butchered that probably, normally catches around 10% of all fish sold in the UK's ship shop. So this one giant vessel catches 10% of the UK's fish sold in chip shops. That's gone. That's not going to be doing much now, because the only thing that you can catch around here is herring and other kinds of cheaper fish, on that side of England, towards the north of England. So the majority of fishermen voted for Brexit, and the question I ask you people is this the Brexit you voted for? Because you guys keep saying it's not, this is not the outcome you guys wanted. But what did you guys want then? Because you couldn't have full access to English waters without having, quotas and things like that. without, if you did that, you would lose access to your market. So you could catch more fish, but you couldn't sell it. So what did you people want, honestly? So DEFRA spokesperson said it only wants to strike agreements if they are balanced and in the interests of the UK's fishing industry. So was this not in the UK's fishing industry? Because from what I've read, the Nords had not asked for too much. They were not unreasonable in their demands. So it's very strange. They just wanted access to our waters by the sounds of things and certain quotas. I don't understand why we did this. The UK saying we put forward a fair offer on access to UK waters and the exchange of fishing quotas, but we concluded that our position remains too far apart to reach an agreement this year. So next year we'll go back to the negotiating table. Starmer calling this saying that fishing communities have been betrayed by the Prime Minister. The UK's departure from the EU means it's no longer part of the common fisheries policy and instead negotiates with Norway directly, or should I say fails to negotiate with Norway directly. So this is from Chris Morris, some analysis, saying that these negotiations are meant to conclude by the beginning of each year, but the timing of the EU-UK deal in December 2020 was very late on, had a knock-on effect that meant everything was delayed. So when Justin Trudeau talks about the UK lacking bandwidth when it comes to trading and not having the personnel to deal with it, it's very clear that that is the case, because are you telling me you couldn't have people negotiating with Norway as well as the EU trade deal, the TCA? I know that was a big agreement, but it shows you the lack of bandwidth we had and the fact that we struggle to do multiple deals with multiple countries at the same time. The failure to reach a deal means Norwegian vessels will also lose access to UK waters, but one of the many species they catch is called blue whiting, and a lot of that's caught in the first couple months of the year, which have already gone. So the Nords win again. That's 2-0 Norway. And if we actually look at that fish, blue whiting, it's not an expensive fish by the looks of things. It's mainly used in, there it is, it's not marketed fresh, but processed into fish meal and oil. However, in Russia and Southern Europe, it is sometimes sold as food fish. So in some countries, they actually do consume it. In other countries, they use it for oil and bone meal. So it's not as lucrative as cod by the sounds of things. UK vessels, on the other hand, fish throughout the year for cod. So, we've had, we're in April, we're in May, right? We're in May, so 3 months access to cod, and now we don't have it to cod in Norwegian waters. So as the warmer sea temperature push cod stocks further north, they cannot replace the cod they've been catching in Norwegian waters by fishing in the UK waters instead. So the cod, as the year progresses, as the seasons change and it gets warmer, we head into the summer months, the cod goes north, so further towards countries like Norway, and that means we can't get that fish in the UK, which means it has to be imported. Or we have to eat, herring. I don't think I've ever actually tried herring, so I missed my chance in Amsterdam when I went, so maybe I'll try it at some point. Many people in the fishing industry felt let down by the EU-UK trade deal, but that was about its potential future. So look, these people have been hit twice here. They've lost access to the EU market properly with regards to, they've lost 3 ways really. I mean, they've lost their main export market, which is the EU, because vet checks and customs checks are very expensive, which means the fish, once it reaches whichever country it's going to, is more expensive and less kind of valuable because of the fact that it's more expensive now because of the customs checks, and it's lower in value because it's not as fresh. In terms of some of the quotas they got, the EU got some of the better end of the quotas as part of the deal that we signed with them. Don't know why we allowed that to happen, and they've lost 3 now. That's 3-0 because they can't get access to the cod they had access to from Norwegian waters. So that's 3 big hits there really from just Brexit on the fishing industry. Someone saying that this is actually this is the same guy, I think, analysis. This is actually a loss of real fishing opportunities. This is someone else, says Barry Diaz of the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations, and in that sense we have gone backwards. Well, you guys wanted Britain to be alone, not him specifically, but people push for Britain to do deals on our own, bespoke deals, and it turns out we are not big boss anymore. We are not riding. We're not the top don. big Scottish fishing firms will be able to catch more mackerel because of the absence of Norwegian vessels in waters. But I don't think mackerel is worth as much as cod is. But most of the rest of the industry will be bitterly disappointed. So the Scots win a bit, just a bit. But this is pretty embarrassing. This is pretty embarrassing, especially if Scotland goes independent, because then they get access to even more waters. But then obviously they'll be part of the common fisheries policy most likely. Therefore, some of those quotas will go back to Norway. But it's embarrassing that the UK have let ourselves get into. It's embarrassing that the UK's let the fishing industry get into this situation, especially since we're an island nation. You would think that they would take more care when it comes to the fishing industries, but they don't care. That's the government. Andrew Cook, the president of the National Fish Federation of Fish Fryers, warned that it could increase the price of fish and chips. I mean, that's going to happen because you need to import more fish, which comes at a cost, especially when import checks happen, when EU exporters will need vet checks and customs declarations and stuff when they start exporting to the UK. So that's going to push up prices as well. This Andrew Cook person says, we rely on having some domestic catch to keep the market stable, and any lack of competition is going to have an impact on prices, because Norwegian fishermen can up the price on cod because they know people in Britain like it. So again, it's very hard to understand what the hell the British government were thinking, to be honest. So this is Jane Sandell, chief executive of the UK's fisheries, said the failure to reach an agreement would mean her firm having only 40% of the fishing opportunities of previous years. So that's an actual tangible loss from Brexit. They have 40%, so they've lost 60% of their fishing opportunities that they had in previous years. That's a tangible loss from Brexit. Her Hull-based company employs approximately 100 crew, so you got to think you might lose 60% of that force. That's 60 people being let go potentially. And Miss Sandell said the news would be absolutely devastating for those workers and their families, not to mention the fact that it's going to impact fish processing, because a lot of that stuff can be done in Norway when it's sold on to before it's sold on to the UK. So again, I don't know how much I could stress this. Another tangible loss from Brexit. It means so much in this area to our history and our culture, but Hull voted Brexit, so what were you guys thinking? There's a bit more here. So she also criticised the government for failing to deliver on deals that they had passed with the EU and third countries. So shouts out to the government. So with the Faroe Islands and Norway, the deals have failed, and Greenland, they didn't even bother starting, she told Today. So the UK couldn't do a deal with any of these countries. The Faroe Islands, Norway, and they didn't bother with Greenland, which tells you the fact that there's a massive lack of bandwidth and a lack of desire to do deals with these countries when it comes to fishing. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that the case? Does the UK government not care about the fishing industry? Or, what kind of concessions were these countries asking for? Because I doubt it was that much. The National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations said the failure to reach agreement would lead to more vessels trying to make a living in the constrained waters of the North Sea and the west of Scotland. And, I've seen an article, which I'm going to cover soon, which says that the UK is already going back on certain deals we made with the EU when it comes to sustainable fishing. So it's clear that the UK cannot be trusted, because we're constantly reneging on deals. And the fact that, we're going into more waters, fishermen are being pushed into more waters that are already packed out by fishermen. So they're going to get less catches, and it's going to cause problems within the industry and competition among different members, different fishing boats. So John Dixon from Hull saying when he heard the news, his heart dropped. The fishing community is so large here, it's unbelievable, and we're all struggling. He says he's been fishing since 17, it's in his blood. He said 2 generations of family had been fishermen, his dad, his granddad and uncles, so you can see that it runs within his family. But, he's saying that his son's already told him he wants to go to sea, but that could stop with him because it's not going to be viable anymore. He says, in all honesty, it's disgusting. You feel betrayed. But the thing is, what did you, I'm not asking him specifically, but the people in Hull, what did you want when you voted for Brexit? Because you were sold a pack of lies. And what are you guys going to do about it? Because you feel betrayed. You've been lied to. What are you going to do? Because your industry voted predominantly for Brexit. What are you going to do? Labour leader said the Prime Minister had made big promises but failed to deliver. Whichever way people voted, Leave or Remain, they don't deserve this. Well, if they voted Tory in 2019, I think they do. Certain fishermen did. This is an article that Son of Viking cited in one of Max's videos, so shouts out to both of them. This is about the Nords talking about the negotiations, saying that it's better not to reach an agreement if we do not return to the situation as it was before Brexit. So it sounds like the Nords and the other countries involved wanted the same access they had before Brexit, which they had access to certain quotas within the UK, and it sounds like the UK didn't want to give that back or didn't want to agree to those, so they were going to be offered less than what they had in previous years as well. That's why they declined the deal. So if it's the case that the Nords are telling the truth here, which I don't have any reason to not believe them. You can see that the UK didn't want a deal with Norway because we didn't offer them the same thing that they had access to before. We are not in a stronger position than we were before Brexit, so I don't understand what the hell the British government were thinking, honestly. And we'll go to the final clip for today, which is this clip about the UK-Norway deal. This is from Jane Sandell, who's been cited a lot. So we'll see what she has to say about things.
No, absolutely not. The two things are totally separate. No, absolutely not. The two things are totally separate, and indeed.
So quickly, this is about the idea that EU quotas would be impacted by any potential deal with the UK, and she's saying that's rubbish, and she says a few other things that are important.
The EU already has a deal with Norway, so European Union boats are currently fishing in Norwegian waters. Their quotas would have been unaffected by any deal with us.
What would the value of the catch from Norwegian waters normally be for the British fleet?
The value of the catch is quite astronomical, because not only is it what we're catching, but it's also what the smaller vessels are catching further south. So all in all, this is an absolute disaster for the entire whitefish fleet in the UK.
What does it mean for Norwegian fishermen who might have entered British waters? I mean, presumably they lose out too.
Yes, absolutely, and it was the desire by the Norwegians to have pelagic access that was really driving the talks, and the total refusal of DEFRA to even consider such access. So effectively, what's happened is that the jobs of our crew have been traded away to further feather the nests of a small number of multimillionaire fishing barons in Scotland.
So essentially, the ones who have access to quotas, the ones who sell on quotas, are going to benefit from this because they'll have access to more kind of herring and that white bane fish, what's it called? That blue whiting fish. But, in terms of the average fisherman who actually does work and doesn't rely on selling off quotas, these people have lost out here. And the question the industry needs to ask itself are, what can it do in response to this? Because it's clear that we do need to rejoin the common fisheries policy. Well, we are kind of part of the common fisheries policy, but we need to engage more with the third countries within the EU, or sort of the other countries within the EU, like Norway, and also countries that aren't within the EU, the Faroe Islands. I don't think they're part of the EU, and Greenland. We have to enter negotiations with these countries in good faith, and we have to at least offer them what they had before Brexit, minimum, by the looks of things. Without doing that, we're not going to get access to some of the catches we want, and the price of fish and chips is going to go up, and it has a massive knock-on effect on the economy. And this is something Starmer needs to talk about. He needs to make the point that, is this the Brexit you voted for? On the side of a bus did it say vote Brexit, increase the price of fish and chips? Because I didn't see that anywhere, and I'm sure none of you saw it anywhere. So this is the thing Starmer needs to start doing, but he's very boring and he hasn't harped on any of this stuff. So what more can you say apart from remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.